Now, we lived for 9 years, and we started a journey that was not going to be very easy.
Yeah.
I remember very well that time I was working in Nairobi in a church called AIC Komarok. One time, I had gone with the missions team within the church to a place called Malomani, Samburu in Kwale County, where we were supporting a missionary. We were building a house for the missionary. So we were going there as a missions team. So we left. Actually, she was the one praying for us in the morning.
Yeah.
But as we traveled, along the way, before we reached there, we started receiving phone calls that my wife just fell on the road while going to church, and she was assisted to the church, and she ended up in hospital. Of course, definitely we came back late. We arrived late at night. We went to the hospital. We found her, and after a few days, around a week, she was discharged. Not knowing exactly how much the damage was, but we started a journey.
Even I'm shocked because you say within a span of 1 month,
yes,
your wife is paralyzed, and you as a pastor, you are a student. She is admitted in KNH,
yes,
and you have a home with children.
Yes,
you are moving in a circle like that.
Yes.
Where do you get the support system?
I remember just one of the days, my wife asked me, when we were leaving for India, she told me, Gilbert, I'm going to India, but I'm not going to come back. I'm going to come back as luggage.
What?
I told her, no, what are you saying? You know, that was my reaction. Again, this day we are checked into a hotel. She told me, no, I'm going to go back. I told you, I'm going to go back.
That's a luggage.
It's luggage. She told me, can you give me some songs? I had my laptop, so we were able to put some songs. And I said, let me go to the supermarket and buy something so that we can cook. We've not eaten really well. So I went there looking for jogo, looking for, the unga we have in Kenya. Mfalme, and all these other, and we didn't find. So I got rice. Anything that was familiar to me is what I bought in the supermarket. Some biscuit. Of course, I know she was not going to eat the biscuit for me. I got cabbage. Cabbage was there.
Finally, you got cabbage.
Even if we do, it's like cabbage in Kenya, this is good. I got cabbage. I went to the room. So when I got back, he said, thank you. Now you can keep the laptop. I have finished mine with God. I told her, what have you finished? Say no.
Hello guys. Hi. Hey, how are you doing? It's great to have you again. Thank you for stopping by and welcome to another episode of Kimurgorbi Talk Show. And I am so excited because of the great and wonderful support that you've been giving this channel. This channel has been spreading like bushfire. It is the fastest growing channel and it is touching lives in a wonderful way. Many people have been getting back to us. Many people have been writing back to us saying, the story that you shared last time really touched me. It met me at my lowest point and it encouraged me. And it is only through you. It is through you that you choose to come and support us through, of course, subscribing, through the sharing, through the liking that you've been doing and sending us messages, going to the comment sections and encouraging us in various ways that you have been doing. And someone is wondering, what do we stand for in this channel? We stand to trace memories because memories hold a very important part of someone's life, and we trace these memories in order for us to impact lives, and we've been impacting lives in a wonderful way. And you know what? I am so excited because in this episode we bring to you a man by the name Gilbert. He's seen it all in life, been brought to the lowest point. And maybe some of you have been affected in the same way as even we consider and listen to his story. His story is on a point of where his wife was diagnosed with a terminal illness, and he traveled from doctors to doctors here in Kenya and had to go to India, where he lost his wife. And at some point, he had no support system. He struggled financially. He's going to walk us through this journey. Therefore, without wasting much time, karibu sana, Reverend Gilbert.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm fine, the Lord.
Good to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me in your show.
You're looking great.
Thank you.
We are so happy that you made time to come and share with us your story and your journey.
Yes.
How have you been?
I've been well. The Lord has kept me. The journey of life, of course, I will not miss ups and downs, but here I am, strong and, blessed of the Lord.
Amen.
Yes.
Maybe someone wants to know who is Reverend Gilbert and where he comes from. Maybe you can tell us.
Reverend Gilbert is a son of a pastor's family. Actually, I'm the 8th born in a family of 12, and born and raised in that family. Of course, wasn't a very easy experience, having mentioned a pastor's family, and more specifically, a missionary's home.
Yeah.
My parents, my father and my late mother, were missionaries. My dad is now retired, so that's where I grew up. Growing up in a family of 8 boys, among the boys I'm the 6th born, and of course 4 girls. So that's how, born and raised in Bomet County, Konoin, and of course moving from one place to another, like for missions. I was actually raised in Transmara, a place called Kilgoris in Gilbert.
Oh.
Is where we were raised. Actually, most part of our lives. So that because my parents were missionaries, so they were out there serving, and that's where we were able to be raised. And later on moved to Eldoret, also for studies, and finally we are now residents of Uasin Gishu. Yes.
I can see you in a collar.
Yes, the Lord called me. Of course, after high school, the Lord called me to ministry.
Yeah.
So I'm a pastor. I work with Africa Inland Church. And currently I serve at the church called AIC Kipsangui, which is in Kipsangui DCC. Around, this area of Eldoret.
Oh.
Yes.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. You also told me, last we met, you told me that you also lecture.
Yes, by God's grace, I also teach. I train pastors. So I do part-time teaching in AIC Missionary College and at Scott Christian University. I also teach at Moiben Theological College part-time and Kapsabet Bible College. So all this is, we're training pastors to be ready to go to the field.
I can see you have a very packed life, and you saying your father was a missionary, you came from a very missionary home. You seem to have taken through the same journey that your father was and your mom.
I took, actually in our family, we are 4 pastors.
Hey.
And among the 4 pastors, I'm actually the last born of the pastors.
Hey.
So I really did want to become a pastor based on the challenges that we face in a pastor's home, lack, destitution, all these issues that surrounded the raising up of children in a pastor's home. Yeah. It wasn't easy going to school, finding food. It was a tough journey. And given the fact that now we were really blessed, a family of 12 in those days was not a joke. I'm telling you. So I came from that background of where we were, so many of us, and definitely grew up in that situation. But being a pastor, I consider it a pure calling. Not even following my father. Of course, I would follow some traces of it, but I did not want to become a pastor because I had experience that moved me away from wanting to become a pastor. From the challenges I've just shared. By the way, Pitok, I studied if I count cumulative years in my high school, I only did 2 years.
2 years of high school?
Yes, because every time I was home. And when I'm home, I'm out there preaching with my parents, because we were now in the mission field.
Oh.
Because, there was no much support for all of us. So being in school was a bit of a challenge. I actually, even registering for my Form 4 exam, it was done by the teachers, because I was a good student, bright student, and they just understood me and they registered for my examination. Imagine that. Without any relationship, they decided that they did that for me, which was something good. That helped me. Actually, the year I stayed in school is my fourth form.
It's interesting to know 2 years of 4 years in school. Anyway, and you have become who you are.
Yes.
And we are grateful that you've shared your background information and where you come from. I can see that you have a ring. That's a part that you have not told us about.
My story
Yes.
is quite interesting. I've married twice in this life.
Twice.
Yes.
You have to expound that.
Yes.
Beginning with the first one,
Yes.
for us to understand the background of the first one coming to the second one.
Very true.
Yes.
After high school, of course, I went to Bible college,
Yes.
where I was trained as a pastor. So once I graduated, I met this beautiful lady. Of course, everyone would search for one, and God gave me one lady. By then, I was a student at Egerton University, and by God's grace, she came from Western Kenya, actually Bukusu, per se, which tells you that I did an intermarriage.
Tribal
marriage. Yes, yes, I intermarried, and by God's grace, we continued with our lives. We were married only, of course. God blessed us with children, 2 children, 2 boys, 2 sons, and of course, after a while, the journey of our marriage. Actually, we did only 9 years.
9 years of marriage.
Only 9 years. Before we started now a journey of sickness.
Before you come to the journey of sickness,
Yes.
I want to understand that I am excited. I come from around.
Yes.
And there is a belief that marriages, intertribal marriages in the Kalenjin community, since you said you come from Bomet, don't really succeed much. You're married from the Bukusu community and you are a Kalenjin. Were there challenges? Were there struggles? Were there people who looked at you as a joker? Were there people who told you while you are dating, stop doing what you are doing, but now what are you even doing?
Bitok, I can tell you as a matter of fact that it wasn't easy marrying the lady again, because everyone felt like you're crossing the lines. Why are you you're really that's not the right thing to do. But I had conviction that was the will of God, and I was willing to do anything. Of course, what any young man can really do to win the love of his life. I said I will not bow down to the pressure. Of course, from family, people misunderstood me. They thought maybe, didn't you see any girl around our place? I said, no, issues to do with marriage, love, are issues that are not easy. If you go as per what you think, we must seek the will of God in everything. And I think it was not coincident that God brought Christine to my life. It was divine.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. And you just mentioned a point of sickness, because you said you have done 9 years of marriage, and then maybe you take us through that point where you said your wife got sick.
First of all, let me take you back a little bit.
Yes.
That, I met Christine. It's important to also say where you met someone.
Very important. We were missing
I was
that.
from a relationship that didn't work. So I had attended a graduation in the same university. So I was on my way traveling to Kericho. And I was disgruntled, I was discouraged, because already now I was heartbroken. But when I was there, I met with Christine in the same car, and it delayed from like getting people to get into so that we can move. And out of that, we started complaining, we started chatting, and we started having a journey of talking all the way from Nakuru to Kericho. And we parted ways. But there was something that struck me that, how is it that we were connecting so much? So I asked her for a number. Of course, she didn't want to give me. And finally, she gave me while she was highlighting. And finally, the long story short is that we finally, met and agreed, and we got the blessings of, being joined together as husband and wife, and our life began.
You got married?
I got married.
And everything moved on comfortably.
Yes, we had a very beautiful wedding. We started very well, and we had plans, we had vision. We thought that God was going to, bless us really, and build our home, see our children grow, marry, and our prayer was that we be able to establish just like any other family. We were passionate because both of us, we had struggles growing up, and therefore we were very passionate about making a difference in a family and raising our children, having their needs met, and also, quality, children with quality life, giving them the best education. So we had elaborate plans together. Now, we lived for 9 years, and we started a journey that was not going to be very easy. I remember very well that time I was working in Nairobi in a church called AIC Komarok, and as a pastor there, we were serving. My late wife was a teacher by profession, teaching high school. So we were working together. So she was transferred to a school in Kangundo while we lived in Komarok. So all this time we are there. One time, I had gone with the missions team within the church to a place called Malomani, Samburu in Kwale County, where we were supporting a missionary. We were building a house for the missionary. So we were going there as a missions team. So we left. Actually, she was the one praying for us in the morning. But while as we traveled, along the way, before we reached there, we started receiving phone calls. That my wife just fell on the road while going to church, and she was a sister to the church, and she ended up in hospital. Of course, definitely we came back late. We arrived late at night. We went to the hospital. We found her, and after a few days, around a week, she was discharged. Not knowing exactly how much the damage was, but we started a journey. That was going to take us again another transition. Because after a month, now she was completely paralyzed.
Wow.
She was paralyzed, and that was not going to be reversible. And the doctors tried searching. We went to every hospital in Nairobi. We saw the top neurologist, because now the diagnosis was multiple sclerosis, which is a problem with the nerves. And she couldn't walk. She was just slipping down, she could not even sit. We started a journey, a painful journey. Remember now we are having this situation facing us step by step. So sometimes we'll be admitted, in Nairobi Women Hospital, the one in Adams. We started from Arlington, we went to Adams, Arcade. There's an hospital there. We stayed there for almost around 2 months. And that's where the diagnosis was now being able to be got. And the journey started, and not only MS, but also she became diabetic and blood pressure. All these things heaped in one body. In one person. Remember, I'm a pastor, active in ministry. But now here again, we are struck by illness. We thought we had all hopes. We thought that things were going to work. We battled the disease, and it proved not to be easy. I remember one time we were admitted at Kenyatta for 2 months.
2 months?
Yes, 2 months. And that was it became like our second home. Because now I have my children in the house and I have my wife in the hospital. And I'm a pastor here. And all this, the disease found us when I was a student doing undergraduate studies in theology. And I was rolling all these things. If you ask me today to do the same, I don't know if I have the strength. But by God's grace, of course, there was a support system that was helping me also to move on with the challenge. So we stayed in Kenyatta. Sometimes you go to hospital, you are told she's not sick. I mean, you are wondering why is she not sick? We saw psychiatrists, we saw psychologists, we saw neurologists. I remember one top neurologist, Professor Amayo. We went to his office, a kind man, a fine man. And he could always give us hope and treat this treatment. And we did that until we could not bear it any longer. So we decided that let's try elsewhere. Maybe we can find help. Because the journey was getting... Remember, we have 2 young kids.
Okay.
And their mother is totally paralyzed. I can't move anywhere. I have to be around her almost 24 hours. If I would go, I make sure that I come back. Because she could not even turn herself in the bed. You needed to be there to make sure that she's stable, she eats well, because it went so much until also she was affected psychologically. For a person who was healthy, teaching and having a full life, to be told that you can't walk again.
Not easy.
Down. When I mean down, is that where you live in that bed,
you will find her.
That's where you're going to find her. And along that journey, I think because of the muscles, because we were also doing physiotherapy, sometimes it was expensive. I had to learn myself. I had to really be taught how to do it. And I could now try and help and, to chip in a little bit. And we went through that journey. And some experiences, of course, as painful as they were, is that with the issues of muscles that are paralyzed, sometimes there could be some trigger of movement, spasms, and that could throw her off the bed. So not what you're wondering how we left her in the bed and we found her down and we're wondering. And of course some people think that is what I mean. Is it spiritual?
Now even I'm shocked because you're saying within a span of 1 month,
yes,
your wife is paralyzed. And you are a pastor, you are a student, she's admitted in KNH,
yes,
and you have a home with children.
Yes.
You are moving in a circle like that.
Yes.
Where do you get the support system?
First of all, I thank God because I worked in a church where we at the beginning, at the onset, we were, I was having people around me who were, giving me a shoulder to lean on. Of course, very particular people who gave me hope. I also had family at the onset. When the disease is beginning, everybody is jumping on the boat. Everyone wants to be part of it. But as it takes longer, is when now the rubber hits the road. And that is when you begin now to realize that you are alone. You battle it. I'm telling you, sometimes I would leave my wife in bed and I would go back later, of course, because of church activities, go back and find that she has not even been, tied it up like change a diaper. Those are things that are serious. So I decided that fine, I think, and she told me herself that Gilbert, you are the only hope that I have. And having that feeling that you have someone who is down, she's saying that I am the only hope that I can really be able to, give help. I was a caregiver. And I did that with a lot of dedication. Because I did that, I even defied the cultural norms. Because now here's a case where norms can't work. How do you hold on to norms and they can't help you? no one can just come into your life and begin helping you out.
Sure.
Like doing these things. Some tried, my in-laws sometimes tried, and they could give up along the way. Because everyone, there's a way that a disease that takes, a terminal disease, take, like a long-term effect on the person, on the caregiver. And you have to be strong for the patient. You have to really be there. I'm telling you that sometimes we could need an ambulance. To just get an ambulance from Komarok to whatever hospital. Because sometimes we could just go to any hospital, provided we can get there.
Yeah.
And ambulance was very expensive. Like to just get you out from the house to the hospital, you need to pay around 12,000. And this is something that came in. Everybody would get tired along the way. So we battled it out, and we really kept the hope alive that it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be well. So we started to begin thinking, what can we do? Definitely, even looking at the church, people began to talk about, could she be, maybe it is witchcraft.
Maybe a merogwa.
Yes. Some told me, some even advised me to go and see TB Joshua, the late TB Joshua, because they saw on TV that TB Joshua is healing. And we've seen people, because with sight disease, you have to buy a lot of expensive things. I'm telling you, there are some boots that you could wear for her to just have her legs straight. That alone was 5,000. Others were the one that you fit in the fingers to straighten the fingers. That was, all these things were hell of things. Remember, we are not even talking about a wheelchair, because at that level she was not even able to sit. And we battled that, we had to really be there. That is now when I realized that this was not a joke. That was going to be a real thing. That's going to take long. We took 2 years of sickness, of pain. Sometimes I looked at my wife and see that, like she was swallowing drugs like Gilbert.
There are so many,
around 12 types, for nerves, for sugar, for pressure, for what, all of them are in, and I'm telling you, you would wonder. And all these things were happening, and we were looking at life in a very different way. Definitely there were challenges, as I've told you about, people talking about maybe it is witchcraft, or you need to go to in Nigeria, or blah, blah, blah. But we kept our faith. I remember my late wife always said, if God is not going to heal me here, I'm not going to go anywhere. Mm-hmm. God is still here, He knows, and she had a lot of hope and faith. She had hope, even though sometimes, because terminal diseases have a way of affecting the psychology of a patient. Mm-hmm. Many times she would tell me, I feel like committing suicide. Mm-hmm. I would want to step in to encourage her. So my being there actually I was the pillar. I made sure that I was present physically. I mean, even though I would go out, come back, I would make phone calls, we would talk, and sometimes I would also break down. I would get myself, because we were living in this bungalow where we had our bedroom upstairs. But do you know, Bitok, that was the last time we were going to get into that room. We had to get one room downstairs to stay. And that was where we stayed and battled the disease from. One time, it came to my mind that why can't we try Eldoret? Why can't we, because Eldoret has also hospitals, and we said, I've heard of FQH, of Topil Hospital, and I was like, why can't we go and see FQH? Of course, I had to convince my wife that I think let's go and try. We've had stories and we are seeing things happening. Bitok, I want to tell you that I give a lot of respect and appreciation to FQH. FQH, when we came to Top Hill, we waited for him. They wanted to give us a different doctor first, and we said, no, we want FQH. When FQH came, she looked at my wife and she told her, Christine, you are going to be well. Those words were going to give us another lease of life for 1 year.
Wow.
Words of encouragement. For a doctor to tell you that I knew, perhaps he knew that it was going to be more than that.
Yeah.
But only to say that, Christine, you are going to be well.
Meant a lot.
Gave her life back. I remember, of course, as we were waiting for FQI, there's a doctor who came and said, looked at the papers and said, this is MS. This is all management. There's nothing we can do. And I can tell you, for the hours we were waiting, we felt like hell.
The whole world.
Because when you're sick, when you have a sick person,
yeah.
what you need is positive speech.
Yeah.
Any word that cometh from you should be of encouragement. Of course, you are not lying, but you are giving hope and inspiring someone to find a reason why they should live again.
Mm-hmm.
Even to me, I never knew that my wife would leave me. I can assure you.
You were still hopeful.
I was so hopeful even when I looked at Courage and he started a journey of treatment, and that treatment went and went. We would come. Now the challenge of traveling. Remember, we are in Komarok, Nairobi.
Oh.
To see Courage, you have got to get a flight from JKIA to Moi International Airport.
Yeah.
You need to get there. Now, at times we could not afford both of us
to take a flight.
So what we would do is, I would organize for someone. I had someone also in my church who used to also do camp business. So I talked with him and I told him, I want you to assist me. Come to my house, pick my wife, take her to the airport, and I will leave Nairobi as early as 3 a.m. So that by the time she's landing, I'm almost in Eldoret. And sometimes, because of some reason, because sometimes I would overspeed and the policemen along the way will not understand. So they are holding me hostage and they don't know what. I will tell them I have a sick, they will not understand. I will delay. When I delay, I have to organize for someone else
to come and pick.
To go to the airport,
yes.
Pick her, bring her to the house. That was the journey we did. And it was quite expensive.
Oh.
But we went through that. At some point, FQI said, you have to go to India. You have got to go to India. Because now we can't, we've reached the end here. There's a procedure. Just go to India. And he actually recommended that we go to Apollo's hospital.
Before you start the journey of going to India, I just want to understand, at this point, are you still serving as a pastor?
Yes, active in ministry.
What is the church? Have they developed liturgy? Are they still supporting their pastor? Where is the family? You're speaking, and as you tell me all this, I'm asking myself and we're asking ourselves, where is the family? Where are people where you come from or where the wife comes from? Where are they at this point?
Now, in this journey, we would do fundraisers for the treatment. Of course, we would use the cover until the cover is exhausted.
Yeah.
I mean, you use the cover until you reach a dead end. So they'll come in, support us financially, would come visit, would call. Those were very important. And let me tell you, Bitok, I lost my mother in the year 2009.
Oh, sorry.
Just before our wedding. I thank God because, of course, she was able to see my wife that time. And, of course, when I lost her coming into my life, I told her, you've come into my life and you have two roles. You've come into my life as my wife and as my mother. And I'm telling you that I meant it because now there was a gap already. A role that she did very well. And she was loved by the family. Apart from me, Christine was loved by everybody. I'm actually, when she passed on, it was really a blow to the entire family. Everyone was devastated. Not only I, but also my siblings. I will tell you, Bitok, in my life, I had never seen my own father cry. But in 2 or 3 instances, he shed tears. He would look at the daughter-in-law and go out and cry. One time he decided even he was going to pray and fast somewhere so that she could get well. That was a tough journey for everybody. My in-laws, my mother-in-law was devastated. I know even today she's not really healed from the loss of her daughter. She's still battling that problem, because losing someone is so much painful. So we can, of course, definitely now we Quite has given us a green light to go.
Yeah. Mm.
Remember now the disease. I mean, we are over. We are close to 1.5 years there, or
Battling with the
condition. And now it's time to go to India. The rigorous process, going to the immigration to find passport. We have to go with her literally on a stretcher. There are people who stood and came. I remember they were very good friends in Nairobi who made sure that there was an organization. There's a lady who's remained a close friend of ours up to today. She's just a jewel that God brought her, an angel that the Lord brought her to through this situation. Mercy Gaitumu is a strong lady who lost her mother out of also battling terminal disease. And she understood very well when walking the journey with her, she became very instrumental. So we would get assistance, we could be assisted to get an ambulance from the county, be able to get to all these other places and run around. So in this process, we have now been recommended to go to India.
Yeah.
And the church was also already exhausted. I think at some point also they were also feeling tired. Who will not feel tired? I mean, helping you every single time you are the one to be assisted.
1.5 years.
I'm telling you, it's not easy. I mean, you could also understand them that they were fatigued by also this issue. But now we had to prepare to go to India. Of course, at some point again, we also got resistance from some of the leaders. And I remember even the fundraiser to take her to India, we did it in an hotel, not the church. But now to me, that was no longer an issue. I mean, battling whether you can do it in the church or anywhere, my own issue was, how can I get my wife to India?
To go to India.
And God brought people. We raised enough money that was to take us to India. Going to India, you have to go through the government processes. You go to, of course, you prepare your passport. You need to have a nurse accompanying you. You have to pay the nurse. A whopping 30,000. And you pay the flight, and you still pay the fee. So the nurse will accompany you to India, and now you continue the processes. If you need the nurse again, you have to pay again.
For the nurse to come.
Yes, you cannot be allowed to travel because she was dependent on oxygen. Mm. We had to get this oxygen. Remember, she could not sit for long hours. I'm telling you, it is a miracle that she got from JKIA to Doha, Qatar, to New Delhi. I mean, sitting in the flight for even to get to get in. All these things are just, these are things that you must do with dedication.
Yeah.
We got there. I remember very well. We had to board these planes, and we were trusting God. We want to get there. Upon reaching New Delhi, somehow we were shortchanged and were taken to Max Hospital.
And you were supposed to go to?
We were supposed to go to Apollos. Mm-hmm. Now we had all these issues and, brokers along the way. But we stood, we said no. We were admitted for one night in Max. And I'm telling you, we paid a whopping 23,000 Kenyan money. Only for a night. In an hospital. We had no option. All these things we just had we had to part with money. And finally, we were told you can't go to Apollos, maybe you look for another hospital. Then they gave us BLK. We looked at it and said, okay, fine, let's go to BLK. Yes, a specialty hospital. We went there, we were admitted, I think it was almost a month again. We were there. Just before the break of COVID, in December, we were there. We stayed there, they tried diagnosing everything, doing the test, and all these things. And even the doctors, they were struggling also. And sometimes you're feeling that you came here and you expected really a very big difference. But there wasn't much difference from what we were doing in Kenya, in my own observation. So we were there. I was still the caregiver.
You're still the caregiver, and maybe Rev,
Yes.
as you do this journey, you've mentioned brokers and the whole journey. There are so many people who are moving from this country and any other country going to India for treatment. You've mentioned some of the things that people have to go through in order for them to get to India. What are some of the challenges of the process? Maybe you can repeat them for a viewer who maybe would be in the process of wondering, how do I start this journey? Then tell us. I mean, you are now in the hospital. You'll also tell us, is there a difference between the services there in India and here in Kenya? When I'm making a choice to go to India, is there a difference?
Thank you, Bitok. Of course, you have to go through a process. And the process is tedious. You have got to, of course, after being recommended by your doctor, you have got to go to KMPDU again for approvals. You have to go to the Ministry of Health, because also they would want you, if you go there, are you willing to share the information, the information that you may get there, that could also be of help to the ministry. You also must agree. We went through those processes. Of course, I've talked about the passport and all this. If you have insurance, you would still also, they would also have to be involved in this journey. All these approvals takes time. It regularly requires vigorous, follow-up on all this. I ran to all those offices. I would go there and I'm asking God, why did you allow this? I mean, why me? I mean, of all the people, why me?
That I have to go
through all this. Because every process is not that easy to get the tickets, but I'm telling you, there are people who God brought. I thank God for, there are people who just were God sent. In every situation, God will raise people who are going to walk the journey with you.
Providence.
I mean, God taking care of you and God making sure that He assigns people duties. And as the Bible says, there are people who stick more than a brother. And I have had those people today. I've mentioned of the lady I mentioned to you. I've mentioned of their friends who stood by me. The likes of a man called Mureki. You also understand that these are not Kalenjin people. It is quite interesting that God is also bringing people out of, He's just bringing people on board.
Yeah.
And you have these people who are really looking into your welfare. I remember Muregi, took his time to come and stay with me for around 3 months to give me support in terms of healing, because it's a journey. So once we succeeded going to India.
Now you are in the hospital.
Now we're in the hospital. BLK. The food there is, you can't take the food there. I was just looking for our garden here. There's nothing. There's no flour. There's nothing. Indian food. So I struggled with them. I would ask them, please reduce the pepper, reduce the pilipili. But to them, the lowest, to me, is the highest. So we battled with that food, and we battled. And remember, in all this, even finding a place that you can sleep. You are in the hospital, you don't have any residence outside. You have to stay with the patient. For all that time, surviving around that admission room was the order of the day. You don't have enough sleep, you are anxious, you look at this situation, you can talk about your lives, because remember, you have gotten into this and there is no turning back. There are things you get into and you don't have a reverse gear. And sometimes, I know there's a time, I used to hear people, leaving their loved ones and running away. We blame them. But I'm telling you that I think if I was not strong in the Lord, I would have also been able to run away. But with the commitment and the love, people who marry without genuine love, by the way, they run. or send you back to your home, to your parents, to take care of you when you get well, come back. But I'm telling you, marriage is a sacrifice. Keeping your vows. But I'm a proud person that I kept my vows. I really, now I'm a reverend. We ask people to say in health, in poor health, in all those kind of things that they say. Those are promises. But wait until you get into it as a form of experience. And so we are in this India, we've stayed. Now they say, now we are releasing you, you come back in 3 days. So where do you go? You have to look for an hotel.
To go and stay now?
Yes.
Have they given you the diagnosis, a different diagnosis, or what have they said?
Now in all these things, they are just saying they are treating MS.
Same thing?
Yes. At some point they will say they are not seeing anything wrong, but they are also saying it's MS. So I could also actually confess that they're also battling to really get the diagnosis. What is the problem? And definitely after all these procedures, they said you have to be discharged. You go to the you come in 3 days. So we had to look for an hotel. So there are hotels there. Because already now it's business. We have so many Kenyans who are suffering out there, so many of them. And sometimes you go through the process, and some are lucky to come back well. Some are also, I think majority of also, finally they will just succumb because of the terminality of the illness. So we are here in this foreign land, and in this so we checked in the first night. I mean, we were there, we stayed. So I say, okay, since we've come in, we don't even know where to cook, where to find food to eat. I remember just one of the days, my wife asked me, when we were leaving for India, she told me, Gilbert, I'm going to India, but I'm not going to come back. I'm going to come back as luggage.
What?
I told her, no, what are you saying? That was my reaction. Again, this day we are checked into a hotel. She told me, no, I'm going to go back. I told you, I'm going to go back.
That's a luggage.
It's luggage. She told me, can you give me some songs? I had my laptop, so we were able to put some songs. And I said, let me go to the supermarket and buy something so that we can cook. We've not eaten really well. So I went there looking for jogo, looking for, the unga we have in Kenya. Mfalme, and all these other, and we didn't find. So I got rice. Anything that was familiar to me is what I bought in the supermarket. Some biscuit. Of course, I know she was not going to eat the biscuit for me. I got cabbage. Cabbage was there.
Finally, you got cabbage.
Even if we do, it's like cabbage in Kenya, this is good. I got cabbage, I went to the room. So when I got back, he said, thank you. Now you can keep the laptop. I have finished mine with God. I told her, what have you finished? Say no. I told you I'm not going to go back to Kenya alive. That was something that was good. Now it got into my head that why is it that we have come all along? We are waiting for only the final checkup, then we come back.
Then you go back.
While we are still in this discussion, I cooked the cabbage and rice.
My people, I am grateful and thankful that you chose to tune in and to join us on this as we trace every memory. And I am welcoming you to the next episode as we continue to trace the story of our guest. And of course, please subscribe, please like, please share, and so that you can share bundles of joy, so that you can share this hope to someone who is maybe watching in a different place.